Okay, so I wanted to do a quick video on dodging and burning. I had posted a video that I found that I thought would be helpful for you guys, but I've actually heard back from a couple of you that there are parts of that that are a little confusing, and I didn't record that video. So I just thought I'd go over this, relatively quickly. So in Photoshop, the dodging and burning tools are represented by you have this kind of lollipop looking thing, and then you have the hand tool here, so dodging and burning. Now, just to review from the darkroom, dodging is basically the idea, and I'm going to swap back, and I'm going to stop sharing. That's what I'm going to do. There we go. Dodging is when we actually are obscuring light from hitting the paper. Okay, so we're actually, when the image is being projected from the enlarger down onto the paper, we're actually taking something and we're putting it in between the light and the paper. And by doing that, we're making that area of the paper lighter. Okay? Burning is represented by the little hand, and that may not make sense. The little lollipop looking thing is meant to, remember, when we do dodging in the darkroom, it's usually a wire, and then we just put a piece of something on the end, and we kind of just wiggle it in between the light and the paper. Dodging, they use a hand, and I always try to correlate things in Photoshop to this is why it looks like this in the digital world, because it looked like that in analog. Well, the reason why they use the hand is because they're kind of showing how light would then go through, pass through. That's why they're using that signal. Because a lot of the time when, you may have seen me do this even in videos or in the darkroom, I'll actually, instead of using a piece of paper to dodge and burn, I'll actually just use my hand. If there's a large area of the print that I want to make lighter or darker, instead of cutting a piece of paper or using the little wire with the piece of paper attached to it, I'll actually just take my hand and wipe my hand in front of the light to obscure the light from hitting the paper in that particular position. So that's why they use that kind of hand signal, because in the darkroom you actually would just use your hand to manipulate the light as the image is being projected onto the paper. Now let's go back to my screen share and go back to Photoshop. Okay, so here's an image that I might like to work on a little bit, and I just want to show you how these work. They're pretty simple. So burning, burning makes things darker. So the reason why they call it burning is because you're introducing more light. More light hits the paper, it darkens that. Remember, in the dark room, more light on the paper means darker. So now one of the ways that I might sometimes use burning is actually to create a vignette effect. So up here at the top, you can see that my exposure is set to 20%. I have my burn tool. It really increased purposely the size of my brush, and I'm going to soften it. Now, I use keyboard shortcuts, but you can actually change the size and the hardness up here. And then I might just, you can hopefully see how I'm darkening just the edges. And actually, this is a pretty good example of how people, oops, I was too close to the top there, how people use dodging and burning in the darkroom. Vignetting, traditionally, is actually an effect that we would do with dodging and burning, okay? So let's go back and forth so you can see that. All I did was I just darkened up the edges by painting with the burn tool over the edges. Now, this is where Photoshop is, quite a bit superior as far as digital dodging and burning. Is clearly simpler than doing it in the darkroom. So let's, actually I made that too. Well, no, I'll do that here. So that was a large scale, but I can actually do this on a smaller scale as well now. One of the things about this image that maybe I don't like is that I've got some nice highlights where the light is hitting the chrome here, but a lot of the other areas just don't seem very dark. So I might come in selectively, and just to show you again, you can see, hopefully, and it should be subtle, but how I can just kind of come in and just darken up certain little areas just to create more dimension. So I'm just going through and I'm just quickly hitting areas that I want to be darker specifically, just to pop it up and make it feel like it has better contrast than it did before. So I'm just going through here and I'm just hitting a few of the areas that I would expect, hope to be a little darker. Okay. And then just hit that shadow. I'm just hitting areas that I think would be a good area for shadows here. Just to try and darken that up just ever so slightly. And you want to be subtle. So hopefully, you're seeing here, maybe even like going, I can't even see what he's doing. But you want to, when you dodge and burn, and when you manipulate digitally, you want to be subtle. You don't want to go crazy with things, okay? So just kind of, again, where we were before, now, after, and you can see it a little bit. And what I could probably do here is, I'm going to show you some more advanced functionality. So right now, if you look up here that says range and midtones, I can actually switch that to shadow. And now you can see that's much more aggressive in the shadow area, and probably actually a little bit too much. Increase the size of my brush. I want to make sure you guys can see it, so I'm going to go ahead and do some of these a little bit more aggressively. So you can actually tell it whether or not you want to dodge and burn in the midtones, in the shadows, in the highlight information. And clearly, that makes a pretty big difference. Now you can see here, this is really darkening some things up. I'm probably going too far, but for demo purposes, I just wanted to really make sure you guys could see this, what I'm doing here. So now let's go back and look at this. And I'm just using the history panel to just illustrate. Look specifically in this area here, so that when I go down and I click on that, and you can see just how much that darkens up. Now, let's see, with the dodge tool, let's say some areas that I want to increase and decrease, brighten. Right? I keep on increase and decrease. It's probably going to confuse you guys. So let's change this from shadows. Let's go to midtones. Let's change the exposure to maybe 30%. That's up here. And you can also use the number keys to control that. That's what I'm using. And now go in and let's brighten some of this up. And what it does is it just kind of gives you the idea of more contrast and just some brighter brights in the details of it. I don't want to go too crazy. Actually, I darkened that. Now I'm coming back and brightening it. Just kind of go down different areas and just play with it. And then just kind of go back. You can see, there we go. So I'm just brightening some things up. So this is what we had. Uh-oh. What have I just done? I may have clicked something I didn't mean to click. Okay, good. Now go away. So that's what it was originally. And then with dodging and burning, we were able to do that. So hopefully you can see it is a great enhancement tool. It's, you make choices. You can make choices very easily about where you want the highlight in the image to be. And here I was, really trying to focus on this main area here. You just change it to the hand. You see, I wanted this to be nice and bright and then darker on the edges. And I probably could even go back in and do some more. Actually, I use that. That's good. And maybe even going a little bit more here. Oops, I actually hit the wrong tool. I'm still on the dodge. I want to go burn. Really, I may want to even really darken up some things in the corners just to make it really dramatic, and then even switch over to my highlights and just try to really, because that up here in the corner is a little distracting. In fact, I'm going to cheat. going to use a tool I don't know that I've shown you guys in this class. I don't think I have. This is the spot healing brush tool. I think I might actually show you. So I don't like this. It's distracting. So I'm just going to remove it. And that there as well. And that brings the focus more toward the center here. I might even get rid of this over here in this corner as well, just to bring the focus out here into the middle where I wanted it. So there's a quick tutorial on how to use dodging and burning a little bit differently. Hopefully that helps and makes more sense. And I apologize if that one, because there was a cutout involved, and yeah, I didn't mean for you to get confused by the cutout information. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions or anything I can help you with. Thanks a bunch.